welcome divers. Come take a dive with us into a subject that I'm pretty excited about. It is ADHD and exercise, how physical fitness, getting outside, getting up and down, moving around, formal exercise, informal exercise, how any of it really helps ADHDers out in big ways. And to start, I'm going to ask my co-hosts, what's your exercise routine? Do either of you have a regiment that you stick to? How about you, Aaron?
I work out 3 times a week, and I also do tennis pretty regularly, and I also walk the dog and do some jog runs with the dog at least pretty much every day. I try to get in at least 20, 30 minutes, sometimes 45 to an hour of brisk walking.
I'm picturing you like those moms doing their
Yeah, I
power
do. I do.
walking. Do you carry weight?
I do it
Yeah.
like
Do you carry?
like a
Do you carry
dad,
like?
yeah. No.
Yeah. Do you have detergent? Yeah. Do you have like dad detergent? You like walk with your detergent bottles, your bounce. So we're gonna move right away to Marley and ask, where are you at with your workout routine and regimen?
Girl, I don't have one. Let's be honest.
Girl, you
I
don't
work
have one.
I work freelance. When I am working out, I'm definitely drawn to classes. I cannot self-motivate for the life of me. When I go to the gym, I have a gym membership. I go and I just kind of aimlessly wander around, occasionally doing some reps. I need accountability. My job is kind of exercise. I get in at least like 10 to 20,000 steps a day, and I'm just like lifting furniture and boxes. Do need to find a way to schedule in workouts that are more regular. It's just been really hard with my schedule being so erratic. And when you have a call time at 5 a.m. and you get home late, you're not like, ooh, you know what? I want to go work out after moving furniture around all day.
You are in the right place then. You came to the right place to talk about all this. And I think we're all going to have a lot of really interesting insights to share regarding our exercise routines, when we've kept them up or kept to them, when we've dropped the ball, when we have a sort of pendulum swung from healthy activity to zero physical activity outside of our work and our career. Well, I happen to be in one of my healthier, more active phases in terms of exercise. And that is all due to the fact that I am prepping for a very big, still scary to me trip, even though it shouldn't be. I'm going to Peru in July to do 2 weeks of primitive camping, backpacking, all above 11,000 feet, and a bunch of meditating and breath work throughout. It's been a trip that I've been, excited about for well over a year and building up to. And it's going to physically and emotionally exhaust myself and the other people going to an extent that I really need to prepare for. So I, this year, about 2 or 3 months ago, picked up a 6 days out of 7 workout routine. I have a personal trainer who's in town, again, all for accountability. And I've been sticking to it. It was a rough start. It was a stumble and arrive more than it was turning the lights on and hitting go. It took a while to get into that routine, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But now I'm fairly firmly set in this routine, and it involves upper body, lower body, cycling, and eventually I'll start incorporating running again. This brings us back to this idea of ADHD and exercise and how they dance really well. So I want to start there with brain stuff. And Aaron, let's talk about how exercise affects our neurology, our unique neurology.
Exercise is one of the best natural treatments for ADHD. Dr. John Rady, who wrote the book Spark, likens exercise to on par with medicine. It's not that way for everyone, but some people, if they exercise in the right amounts, the right quantity, the right ways, can significantly reduce medication or even, wean themselves off of medication, the reliance on medication. But for the majority of people, working out is going to be an adjunct. It's going to be complementary to taking medicine. Exercise produces endorphins, which is a hormone-like substance, in our bodies. It also increases the natural levels of dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. So all of the neurotransmitters that are great for brain health, for focus. Dopamine is particular for motivation and focus. So exercise really benefits the brain in all of those ways. It's just, I think, an overall boost, you know, to our productivity and our executive functioning. Exercise can help with increasing working memory and brain health and neurogenesis. It's like a protein, I guess it is. It's called BDNF, brain derived nootropic factor. And aerobic exercise releases this, and so that can help with keeping your brain healthy and generating new neuronal activity. So, as we age, as we get older, keeping our brains healthy.
How does medication affect our workouts? The lack of medication, if we don't take it before a workout, if we do take it during a workout.
Our medications are stimulants, right? And a lot of people who work out regularly take pre-workout supplements. And what do those supplements usually have in them? Usually they have caffeine. Stimulant medications are in some ways, and I hesitate to say this because it's, kind of a loaded term, especially in sports, but, performance enhancing. If you look at the Olympics, if you look at other sports, you can't just go and have amphetamines in your system. Those would be considered, drug abuse and performance enhancements that aren't allowed.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps you to maintain and to push yourself a little bit harder in your workout. So it can actually be a benefit to combine the two, to take your stimulant medication and then go work out. It'll help the medication function better in your system for a little bit longer because you're naturally increasing the dopamine levels in your brain. And what the medication is doing is it's preventing the reuptake of the dopamine. This is kind of an area of debate, but it's like ADHDers, we may not have a deficiency in dopamine, but we definitely have an inefficiency of how we utilize dopamine that is there. Either we process it too fast and it clears the system, or we're not utilizing whatever we have in an efficient way through the neural networks. So exercise, by increasing blood flow into the brain and then combining the stimulants, it helps you to actually lift a little bit heavier weights. It helps you to push a little bit harder than maybe you would have. Marginally increases some of the heart rate that you have. It also, on the back end,
I was going to ask.
It can help with anxiety. It can help with sleep. So some of the side effects of stimulant medications: sleep disturbance, staying up too late, issues falling asleep, and anxiety.
Yeah.
Actually, working out has been shown to decrease those things. So even in people without ADHD, if you work out, you're way less likely to have depression.
When you say that the stimulant medication improves our performance, is it that it is physically improving our performance, or that mentally, because we're not distracted, because we're able to kind of micro focus in on the activity, we can like push away the emotional layers? Or is it a combination of both?
That's a really interesting question, and I don't know. I would say if I had to guess, I would say it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, it feels that way.
That we can focus more and more sustained focus. But I also think because of the increase in blood flow and maybe the fatigue of muscles and stuff, like stimulants can help. That's why people use caffeine.
Or metabolize too. I'm just wondering if it's also helping us metabolize the stimulant medication.
So when you're working out, your digestive system shuts down, your resources in your body switch to other things, right? So evolutionarily, when we're running from some kind of predator, we don't want to have to be thinking, our system doesn't want to have to be thinking about digesting the meal we just ate.
No.
It's fight, flight, freeze. So we're in that flight zone of, I'm getting ready to run. So your digestive system shuts down, and all of the energy is being put to the extremities, to your arms, to your legs, to your muscles, everywhere else to go. And that includes your brain, right? Your brain's part of that extremity that blood flow shoots into, and those neuroadrenaline and cortisol and endorphins and all these things flood through your system to get you ready to act. It's probably not during, but probably sometime after the exercise, the body shifts back into digesting the medicine and metabolizing it. And we do have dopamine receptors in our gut. So I think what's gonna happen is it's gonna help the process of that medicine to last a little bit longer, to be more optimal. If you're eating protein, you're eating some things alongside of that, and your protein is going to building muscle, that'll help the medicine. It'll provide a base for the medicine to work. And because you have the natural dopamine in your system that's boosted up by exercise, now you add in that medicine as well, and it'll help carry those neurotransmitters farther into the day. I don't know about you guys, but for me growing up, I was like, my favorite part of school was recess. And it was like, as soon as I got to get let out, go run around, I'm out there doing sports, playing. I don't know about you guys, but I also like participated in a lot of team sports.
Who here played sports in high school and or college or lower school? I mean, I know I played sports every season.
I played sports all the way up, until I graduated high school. Didn't do it in college.
I played soccer, but I leaned more towards inside arts. So when you guys were saying like
Okay,
I loved
early.
recess, I was like, I love being in the quiet room drawing with not as much stimulation. Gym gave me anxiety because it was always like, oh no, I'm not going to get picked, or oh no, I'm not going to be the best person in dodgeball, or it was more of like a judgment system because I was scared I wouldn't get on the good team.
I bet this translates, Aaron and Marlena, to adults with ADHD and fitness regimens as well. Sort of like rumination and self-doubt and self-shaming and, fear of fraud, fear of failure. These are some big barriers to success for adults with ADHD and exercise. Am I wrong?
We get in our own way so much of the time with exercise.
Yeah.
ADHDers tend to be perfectionistic. It's just like all or nothing attitude. It's like, oh, if I'm working out, it has to be 5 days a week, and I have to be, trying to lose 50 pounds. And
Oh, yeah, baby.
we get this set in our mind that we have to do so much for it to count. But really, small things can help us. Things like, walking to work, biking to work, taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
Yeah.
Incorporating even just like I said, brisk walks. Even just walking 30 minutes a day for like 4 times a week can improve the brain health and improve ADHD function. So we don't have to like kill ourselves doing these exercises, but it's tough as adults, right?
You might need to go meet friends and join an ultimate frisbee group, or join a meetup, join a running group, a biking group. Like it can require more socialization rather than just solo activity.
Yeah.
How do we get started? And I will start us off with the how to start a routine with one a simple and easy trick that someone taught me many years ago. So I am someone who goes through cycles and phases like any adult ADHDer, I believe. Sometimes I'm working out, sometimes I'm not, sort of a thing. And there's a whole range inside of those 2 points, right? One of the ways that I can get myself back into the flow is to try something called 30-30-30. This is right before you take a shower. You can do this in the bathroom. It is 3 different techniques, 30 reps. It's push-ups, 30 push-ups. It's 30 sit-ups. And then it's 30, what do you call these for triceps, Aaron and Marley? Do you know what I'm talking about when you do the dips? 30 dips. Thank you. Yeah. So you do 30 push-ups, 30 sit-ups, and 30 dips right before you shower. You can break that into 10, 10, and 10, right? You can start with 10,
5,
10,
5,
10.
and 5, or 1, 1,
Or
and
5,
1,
5, and
or
5.
wherever you're at.
Wherever you're at, start there. Do those 3 right before you shower, and it helps anchor that activity to something you have to do anyway. And this is something we'll come back to called temptation bundling.
Yeah.
But temptation bundling, in essence, is the act of anchoring something that you don't want to do to something that you either have to do or like to do, right? So the classic example is bringing your iPad to the treadmill and watching your favorite Netflix episode while you run on the treadmill. Mm-hmm. Classic example of temptation bundling, right? You're getting to kill 2 birds with 1 stone in this way. 30-30-30 is a great version.
And what you're saying about this 30-30-30 is actually also using sequencing, like creating a habit chain, habit sequence. A lot of times we just try to insert a new habit randomly.
Right.
Like we decide to say, well, I'm going to do this at least once today, and we make it a goal or something. But if we can actually link it to something we already do habitually, like every day when I walk the dog, I'm going to go to the park and then I'm going to do these push-ups and stuff at the park where they have this little area to do it. Like
Oh
then,
yeah, I see this all the time. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. This at Audubon Park here. There's people who definitely have anchored walking their dog to like using the outdoor equipment at the park.
So if you're already doing something like that, just add on, create another chain in that sequence. And that way it's a lot easier to adopt than to try to like find a time or work it in. Do it as part of something you already do because that habit's established. And if we can link it to the established habit in our brain, it's so much easier because it just becomes part of that sequence.
Getting started with something small is the way to go. To Aaron's point, I've lost track of the number of times that I tried to start a new habit, right, or begin a new habit, and it absolutely come apart and crumble within a week or two. My classic line from last year was, I made it to the gym for the first time for the fifth time this year. You know what I mean?
And for someone who is struggling to even start a routine, someone who has ADHD and struggles with consistency, the thing to do is to figure out how to start small and set a goal that has less to do with some kind of outcome. It shouldn't be about losing weight or a certain amount of miles. I mean, those things are okay, but a lot of times the goals we set are either overly optimistic, unrealistic, or they're not really motivating for the long run. They're not sustainable. So what we can do instead is actually start small. And as James Clear says in his book, Atomic Habits, we want to really make small changes. So these like atomic level changes, right?
Yeah.
And they create bigger overarching change over time. So what we can do is set process goals instead of outcome goals. And those would look like things like I'm just going to go to the gym. I'm getting to the gym. I'm doing the process to get myself to the gym. It doesn't matter how long I'm working out, what I'm doing, I'm getting to the gym.
Yeah.
Those kind of things can help us in this shift from doing nothing to getting our butts off the couch and getting out and starting some exercise routine. I think something else that's important too, how we see ourselves, how this incorporates into our identity. Because if we look at it as something outside of ourselves, and this gets back to Stephen's whole, I think, spiritual flow state kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something you see as part of part of your identity, I'm doing this thing. I'm not just going to play tennis because I'm getting my hours worth of exercise in. I'm a tennis player.
Right.
I enjoy the game naturally. So if I'm doing it for the love of the activity in the game and the exercise is a side benefit, then it's not so hard. It's not like I have to like really stretch myself.
I'm realizing just how many mental blocks I put in the way before I even get myself to the gym. I'm definitely guilty of being addicted to the process. I'm like, I'm going on a juice cleanse and then I'm going to get this workout
Yeah.
notebook and I'm like going to start this
Yeah.
new regiment and I like plan this whole thing out. And then middle of the day happens and I didn't wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym that I never go to. And I just feel a lot of guilt. You guys keep saying, I am a tennis player. I am a biker. I was very athletic as a child, and my dad jokes around that like when my hair got wavy or like puberty happened, I got 2 left feet or something because he's like, I don't know what happened. You just like didn't play as good. And I don't know if somewhere in my head, not blaming my dad, but like I told myself, oh, I'm not athletic. I'm the artsy kid. I'm the artsy kid. And like that programming kind of was something that I instilled in myself. And I definitely have a lot of guilt and shame that I start something and don't finish it, and like fitness is something that I haven't folded in. But when I do fold it in, I always feel so much better. So it is one of those
Yeah.
cyclical loops where it's like I feel guilt about doing something and then I don't do it, but then as soon as I do it, I feel so great and I go, why am I not doing this more?
What I'm hearing is your core belief, your belief about yourself and your self concept got in your own way. And I think our listeners can probably relate to this, that if we believe we aren't something, that's going to be a fulfilling prophecy.
Absolutely.
If we, on the other hand, believe we can do something, or we are becoming something, or working on this thing, that can shift, right? I'm building this capacity. It's this growth mindset versus this fixed mindset of I'm not a runner. I'm not someone that exercises. I'm artistic. I don't do that. We create a wall in our mind that makes that reality not even possible. It doesn't jive with our identity.
Yeah.
But if we can believe and open ourselves up to a broader concept of ourselves, right? Okay, so I haven't been this for a while. I mean, I didn't start tennis until I was, I don't know, 34, 35 years old.
Wow.
I'd never played tennis in my entire life. And my dad had been trying to get me
Yeah.
to play. This is a great sport. I love it. And I was like, Dad, I love basketball. Tennis is for old men. And then I realized later on, I'm like, I never gave tennis a shot. And then I grew out of basketball, because basketball, like, I couldn't jump as high. My knees hurt, right? Like, and I decided, you know what, I got to take up something else, because people can play tennis until their 80s. So I started doing it. And of course, I sucked. At the beginning, it was a hard hurdle to overcome. I'm a very athletic person. I'm used to being good at sports and stuff. And I'm sitting there, how do I swing? How do I hit this ball? How do I get this
Oh,
thing
yeah.
back? I'm learning the basics. And it was a very humbling experience, but I stuck with it. And I had this growth mindset. I had this idea in my head that it's like, look, I know this is going to take some time, but I'm going to do whatever it takes to get good.
Do you think ADHDers have a harder time at comparing? Like, is there scientifically an explanation for that? Like, why we compare so much, or why we need to be the savant in something? Is it just the perfectionism? Because myself included, Stephen knows, like, I don't like working out with other
Oh,
people.
I was going to bring it up. I know for myself, if I'm starting a new sport or if I'm starting a new thing, I am so rage cage perfectionisty about it. Like, I want to be the best baseball player on day 3. You know what I mean? And that has always been my thing. And I know you share that because I've seen it on your body and on your face where you're
Yeah.
like, I need to be perfect at this lifting technique today. And it's
I
like,
quit it.
and then
I go, oh,
you
I'm
just
not the
drop
best.
it.
Bye.
The same way that we get distracted by external stimuli and sounds, noises, things that are happening in our environment, we also can tune into those things when we're stuck in our head, when we are in these ruminative cycles of thoughts and comparing. What we'll do is we observe. We're actually very powerful observers. So we look around ourselves, we see things, we notice things, we read things, we read the room. That can be a benefit and an attribute in some context. But if we are in this self judgment comparative analysis, that's where it can work against us. So we have to actively, as ADHDers, work against perfectionism. This thing has to be perfect. I have to be perfect, or it doesn't matter. This all or nothing trap of thinking. And we have to work on focusing back in on ourselves and on not competing with other people, but just being in touch with ourselves as we're doing exercise or working out or participating in any sport.
Yeah.
The best people in sports aren't competing with other people. The only people they're competing with is themselves. Arnold Schwarzenegger talks about this too. Like when he lifts weights, he thinks about the muscle. He thinks about tightening the muscle, right?
Oh, yeah. Isn't that scientifically proven to make it work more?
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
scientific because you're
Oh, yeah.
putting more blood flow and everything into that region, and that just cognitively thinking about it, right? So, but what if Arnold was looking next to him, being like, "Oh, that guy he's lifting, 12 pounds heavier than me and doing 5 more reps or something." Like, is that going to help him do more? No.
I need to find accountability. I know that there's personal trainers, and that would probably be the best thing for me. There was this class online called The Class that I really enjoy because it starts live and you have to sign in, so it's not something that's necessarily pre-recorded.
You found an online course, something you can stream into your private space, right? Which you get to create and you get to build out. And there you get this sort of like you get this kind of win-win. There's a group, I'm assuming. There's other people who sign into this live stream. You're led by an instructor, right? And then by the end of it, you're in your own home.
There's something that may be missing to that equation too, is you still have to make that choice to join that or to not do it, and then that's still on you. So if you add another layer of accountability, there's all sorts of ways to add accountability. But if you had a friend and the friend was doing it at the same time and you guys are checking in with each other and like
Right.
joining the meeting and maybe having a friendly kind of accountability session together, like, hey, we're both going to do this 3 times a week and we're going to hold each other accountable, that adds layers of accountability. And that's what we need. We don't need just like one thing. It's best to combine accountability.
Oh, well put, well put.
That's a good idea. My friend and I actually, we just started this. If we decide on a day to go to the gym, if the other person cancels on the day of, or just cancels in general, they owe the other person a post-workout smoothie the next time they go.
Nice.
So I've had to use money
Incentives.
because now we're both playing chicken with each
Yeah.
other. Like, we're working out on Tuesday. If you don't show up or if you cancel, you owe me a smoothie.
Using rewards and incentives as part of it. There's natural rewards, there's things we get, those endorphins you get from working out, but then there can also be some of these other rewards that we build in. You know, if I'm showing up and going and my friend isn't, I'm getting that smoothie, and that's like a reward that's built in. Or you can find ways to help boost that level of accountability. It can be that you're saving money or not losing money. You're avoiding a consequence. Consequences work to help motivate at the beginning. They're not sustainable, but initially, to avoid a consequence, that's highly motivating. If we're like, I know that this thing is going to happen, I'm going to lose money because I've already paid. If it's a meaningful amount of money, then if it'll sting, it'll work. You'll push yourself through that zone of discomfort, because a lot of times ADHDers, we hold ourselves back in that initial step of like getting started, doing the thing. That's the part of the resistance we need to push through. Once we're doing it, and afterwards, we feel much better. So if we can get ourselves over that initial hump, we'll do it. We'll exercise. We'll get there. We'll show up to the gym. We'll do the class.
Yeah.
Consequences can be very powerful motivators at the beginning, but to sustain, right? To sustain over time, we do need to have both of those intrinsic rewards, those natural rewards and internal rewards that we're feeling about doing the activity. It has to be something we do like. I mean, and that's why people, when they have these New Year's resolutions, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. Well, they might have done that in the first month or two, and then they fall off and they gain the weight back. What happened? A lot of times it's because they set themselves up with this goal of doing the thing, running the marathon, losing the weight, and it's not sustainable. And they didn't enjoy the activity at all to begin with.
I think that's such a key factor, Aaron, the not enjoying.
Yeah. And ADHDers are interest-based motivators. So we have to like what we're doing. So if you can find something about what you do, that class, the activity, the sport, if you find something you enjoy about it and link your motivation to that. I really love this. When I go for a run, it's my time. I love to just like listen to the birds chirp. I like to watch the sun come up. Like those parts around it
Yeah.
can be the things that can help you continue to do the activity.
You can look around your friends and your peers, your family, your parents, et cetera, loved ones close to you. Be a social spy. Social spy is the concept of like actually observe and use that ADHD power to see the field as wide and expansive, to see all the kind of archetypes and types of people. Two things. Number one, what are they gravitating towards and choosing to do because they like it? And what are they rejecting because they don't like it? And a really easy example is I have a very good friend who's 32, has never learned to ride a bike. For that person, riding mountain biking is not going to be an exercise regimen for this friend of mine, right? That's not there. It's going to take too much upstart cost to learn how to ride a bike, to let alone get to the level where you can be riding in mountains with elevation gain, et cetera, et cetera. For me, running and swimming never clicked. Never clicked. I love being in the pool, but I don't like swimming workout, right? I couldn't get into it. I feel like too heavy. I'm sinking. I'm having to think about like floating and working out at the same time. And I get in my head. The same is true for running. No matter what podcast or music I'm listening to, at a certain point while running long distances, I get trapped in my head and I don't get into that flow state. But for whatever reason, cycling has a very different effect on me in my brain, and I really gravitate towards it. I really love getting on the bike. It's stimulating for me, right? And so it doesn't feel like a chore. If I can leverage rewards and consequences just to get me on the bike and get over that first mile or three, then I rediscover this relationship I have with this activity that's really powerful and strong. I love that activity. I just have to remind myself that I love it. And then the exercise follows, right?
Don't focus on the negative. Don't focus on what you don't like about the thing. Focus on the positive. The way we talk to ourselves does matter. If we
Right.
talking to ourselves and telling ourselves, I can't do this. I'll never be this. This is too hard. Like those negative internal phrasings and self-talk gets in our head and prevents us from even trying, from even doing it. But at the same time, if we can check those excuses and instead lean in to what is possible and believe in ourselves. I'm not this yet. It's the power of yet, right? I'm not this yet, but I could be. I'm working at it. This is something that's possible. Then we can achieve it.
I want to underscore this idea of helping the natural dopamine function. I will speak anecdotally. Yes to all of the barriers and to all of the like procrastinating and perfectionizing. When I do get on a bike and I hit my like 5+ miles, let's say, like for that first 5 miles, inevitably I don't want to be up that early. I don't want to be doing work. I live in a swamp jungle called New Orleans where it is extremely hot and muggy all the time, no matter what time of day it is. So there's a lot of stuff going against that action of me getting on the bike and cycling. But I swear to all things holy, 5 miles or more in, and I feel everything come online, right? That idea of the computer activating, the lights coming on, the gears turning, and et cetera, right? I can feel my working memory. I can feel myself being more alert. And I mean literally remembering things I had said I was going to do the day before. They start to come back into focus. Like, oh, I need to do those things today because I did not do those yesterday. And this all happens on the bike.
The blood flow is increasing in your brain, right?
Yeah.
So, and we're getting everything moving, and it's helping your brain stay alert. So, in addition to the increase of all those neurotransmitters, you're also helping all of your system just come online. And that includes your executive functioning system that ADHDers struggle with so much.
Yeah.
The working memory, it kind of, was depressed in some way before that, and then reactivated.
I want to hear from both of you like this feeling. Do either of you have this feeling like when you're getting into your workout? Because for me, it is a very clear physical feeling as well as cerebral.
The exercise that I finally clicked into, because I've tried yoga and it's great because it grounds me, but I just don't stick with it all the time. The class is high interval training, but it's also like movement and breath work, and they're consistently encouraging us to let out sounds. And I never realized how much I hold in until I had to actually physically make the sounds. Like, because she's like, like, and she's like, and they're encouraging you to do it. And I almost every time I cry at a certain point, and I'm like, what is? And when it was first happening, I felt like the Grinch, like I'm leaking. Like, why is this? Like, what's going on? I don't have this like clear lights go on. Mine is definitely more cathartic, but I feel better after.
It's more emotional is what I'm hearing. Like it may not be as like cerebral or, oh, I've got my to-do list back, or oh, I've got this fog cleared. And now for you, it's an emotional fog that clears.
Shame is lifted potentially.
That's pretty powerful.
Working out is also a great emotional release, a way to balance emotional dysregulation and any traumas or stress, anxiety that we have built up, even from the past, even from long ago. If we move our bodies, sometimes the body is harboring these traumas and these stressors, and we may not even be consciously aware of it. There's a great book by Bessel van der Kolk called The Body Keeps Score. That book just talks about that brain-body connection and how trauma resides in our body.
Also on that bike, there are moments when I am lion breathing. You know what I mean? Like, just like getting anger and frustration and whatever is holding me back from that activity or from other activities. I find not every time, but in key moments of peak exercise, that energy comes out, right? It's a place to store that, to put that energy and not keep it inside here so much.
So if we look at those as things that we want to mitigate in our lives, adding in workout routine can help our mental health. And that's, I think, the key to this episode is that if you want to optimize your mental health, work out. Doesn't matter if you're running 5 miles or biking 20 miles or whatever. Get up, walk, even just 20 to 30 minutes. Do something. And that little bit that you do can go a really long way to helping your mental health.
End with perhaps the most simple notion or call to arms, if you will, call to action. Working out and exercise exists on a very wide range, right? Of anything from extreme sports all the way down to doing little lifts under your desk while you work, or, you know, lifting your calf raises right on a wall in your office or in your room. It really is a very wide range of activity that counts as physical exertion, as exercise, right? The key here that Aaron brought up earlier is that we just have too much evidence. We have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to the evidence and research that suggests that exercise is a very powerful and wonderful tool for adult ADHDers, for ADHDers in general. It can wake us up and motivate us and pump dopamine in the morning and get us focused. And it has a totally opposite and important power to help us relax and relinquish anxiety and get to sleep in the evening. I mean, what a wonderful gift that the same thing at a different time of day has different healthy benefits and effects on us. Speaking anecdotally, I used to be a morning workout person. Recently in my life, I have switched to the evenings because I crave more of that catharsis, that peace, that calm in the evening before I go to bed. So what a gift, right? Just getting out, running around, jogging, walking around your block, walking your dog, hopping on the bike, getting to the gym, whatever it takes, get out there and move around, right? Because it's just something we have to do. It's good for your brain. It's good for your brain, dang it. And on that note, we have resurfaced. Thank you, divers, for taking a dive with us. We're on the surface, and we are done with ADHD and exercise. We look forward to seeing you next time for our next ADHD adulting topic. And until then, ta-ta for now.